You've been listening to Open Window Show. That was a live set from Phog Masheeen. What'd you think, Steve?
I loved it. I loved really was tracking with, and towards the end, I was getting a vision of being at a quiet railway station towards like dawn. I don't know where the image just came in my head, but that's what came through my head. Maybe it's the train taking us out of here.
The train. So you had visions of a train.
It sounded like, at one point, it was like being, like on a train, on a station. I could hear like train coming, and it's dawn. Sun's about to come up. It's a strange image, but that's where I was coming from. Thank you.
So, welcome to the show, Mark.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks for playing. That was incredible. How do you feel?
I feel like I've been somewhere, and now I'm back.
Well, we appreciate you coming out and doing that. I really have no idea what instruments you were playing there half the time. Maybe you could enlighten us on what you did, because I know you're a trumpeter.
That's what I had a question on. It looked like not just a trumpet, but you look like was like sort of like a conch, but it wasn't.
Well, it is an exhaust pipe from a two-stroke motorcycle, more than likely. It's called an expansion chamber, and I fitted it with a mouthpiece made of PVC piping, and it's fed into a contact microphone, and from there it goes through a couple of samplers, and they have an effects array that they bring to that. It's a very expressive instrument. I don't think that the people that initially built it thought of it as a very expressive instrument. I think we're still hearing a little bit of the backing band.
Yeah, can you...
Oh, we got some crickets.
I hear him.
Yeah. Those.
Wow, so you brought crickets to play along with you.
Yeah, I thought it would add a insect vibe to things. The name of that piece was The Path of the Locust. And the crickets are part of that lineage. And let's see what else
Is this the first time they've played along with you?
Yeah, this is probably the only time I'm going to be using crickets as a side band.
Is there a reason for that? Are they... Did you
They're just they're petulant, you know. They play when they want to. They play what they want to. As you can see now, they've decided to play when I'm done.
They want to be heard now, suddenly.
Yeah, it's time for the crickets. But they sound pretty good, you know. They've been singing all their life, you know. It's what they do.
What's their lifespan like?
3 weeks.
Really?
Not an incredibly long period of time.
Then they end up in a tarantula's belly?
Some do, you know. Some, you know, live their whole life, and the tarantula is not interested in them, and they pass on. Listen to those guys. That's what I wanted for the whole set. And now
they didn't have any interest in cooperating.
Well, no, I think they're cooperating in an insect kind of way. You know, he's done. It's our turn now.
They kind of picked up on the fact that I like to have kind of some kind of drone going during the interview, and they're providing that.
It's good. It gives a campground kind of feel.
In the middle of a city too.
Yeah.
With the ambiance of Vermont and Beverly Boulevards.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, what were you thinking building up to this set? What inspired you?
I was inspired by the 30 steps that lead to this studio, and
that's inspiration.
I had I have performed recently utilizing a 26-inch marching band bass drum, and I was thinking about bringing that. Then I thought about the 30 steps, so I sampled it. And then
Nice.
I wanted to bring the pickaphone, which is a xylophone made of pick heads, and that weighs upwards of 90 pounds.
Jeez.
And I thought of the 30 steps and
Yeah.
sampled that.
Okay. So, well, it was interesting because when you stepped into the room, the Culture Remix show was going, and we had an artist performing on a sampler,
Oh, he was awesome.
and it was amazing. And I think you guys were kind of talking about gear a little bit.
Yeah, it was wonderful. He really had a very excellent command of the tools, and Duke.
Oh, I can't remember. You got it.
I have it. It's in my Twitter feed. Because he's a Twitter guy. He doesn't do Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah. But Duke Westlake,
yeah.
name check. Very cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I always love it when you have guys that are maybe a little more toward hip hop or some kind of beat style, and or dance music or whatever, and then you have these noise guys coming in there, kind of looking at each other like, "Oh, you used that sampler, you used that Roland, whatever Korg." You know, I love that. It's like the same tools.
Well, source material's different.
Mhm.
I do a lot of field recording,
Mhm.
and you know, the beats are composed of things like pick heads, squeaky circular fans on tops of buildings. I had a really good one that I didn't use that was a slamming metal gate that was really nice because the whole thing reverberated after it closed.
Mhm.
I got a brief security gig for the Mayan apocalypse, and I had this metal gate that I had to monitor, and
Oh, jeez.
it was the best thing out of that gig was the sound of the gate.
Wow. So you had your field recording device handy?
I just used my phone.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a
you
good way
can
to
turn
do it.
up the resolution on the phones. You know, they usually stop at 8K, but you can really, if you want quality, they will allow it.
Nice.
But yeah, so what have we got here today? We've got the trumpet. We have the digestaphone, which is shaped like a aftermarket stomach.
Right.
I'm using an African rattle.
Yeah.
With pods as a resonant source. We have a aluminum hairbrush. What else we got? 2 samplers, 2 reverbs, a compressor, a microphone for the crickets. Contact mics on pretty much the trumpet and the digestaphone. And that's about it. And from these humble means, all of that sprouts.
The whole concept is mind-boggling, the digestaphone. I just like that one. But how did the trumpet come in? Was there any kind of influence on that?
Well, yeah. I had played trumpet in high school and through 2 years of college. And I put the horn down for 30 years. And a friend of mine called.
I see.
And he said, "We need trumpets at the junior college. Why don't you get a horn and play?" And so I got a horn through eBay for $60. And I started practicing. And this isn't what we play at the junior college, by the way. This is,
I understand totally.
but I thought, well, I can use this in a different way and it's a very expressive instrument. You know, and any instrument that comes from a history of being a military signaling device really is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got a checkered past, and so it's really something to be able to, pardon me, take that and rend something else out of it. And it's kind of like the people that find beautiful sounds by misusing things like pedal steels. You know, it's like it has a lot of potential in a lot of different ways, but it always seems to go in the same direction in certain hands.
Yeah.
So it's like a common denominator to what I've been hearing is whole breaking grounds and coming up to new levels. I
Well,
mean, it's accidental in a way, isn't it?
well, all of the crux of all of composition is based on accidents. I mean, people call it inspiration. They call it a lot of things. But if you don't do the experiments, you can't have experimental music.
Exactly.
And if you don't do the experiments, you will not learn failure. You will not, you know, and all the gear doesn't behave the same way when you set it up. You know, it's like things are going to happen. You got to deal. And that's the exciting thing. That's the thing that keeps it a worthy endeavor.
I think so.
But you seem to be highly motivated. You handed me a new CD.
Yeah,
Can you talk about that? The Eternal Battle of Heat and Cold.
The Eternal Battle of Heat and Cold is a narrative, and it's about the personified elements of heat, cold, and entropy. And heat and cold are characterized as is entropy. Entropy must use heat and cold to do his bidding, too. And in this particular setting, flatten a mountain range. And, you know, it's based on kind of characterizing these elements as a dysfunctional workplace. So heat, cold, and entropy have long since gone through all of the elements of getting along at work, and now they're into just like blind rage. And that for some reason it just seems incurable, and they don't seem to be able to get along. But they always need to work together to create these works that entropy does. And entropy, as described in the first song, Cold Day in Hell, his job is to make things break. And to do that, he uses heat and cold to wear these various physical things down. Rocks, mountain ranges, whatever. Heat and cold is applied over millions of years and levels them. And it works over and over and over again. And so he's been at this, and they've all been at this since the Big Bang. And there are some obvious issues, and in Act 2 and 3, they will be revealed. But right now, in Act 1, we're looking at, you get to meet the characters, Heat, Cold, and Entropy, and they're brilliantly voiced by Emmy Collins is Entropy. He is he's a performer in a band called Brutal Poodle. Bobby Allman is Heat, and a genius performance on his part, and a wonderful performance from Lisa Black, who is voicing the character of Cold. And we have another project with Lisa that's going to be released as a video on YouTube, a piece that she wrote about palindromes. And palindromes, you know, it's the same forward as it is backward, so it has a certain looping quality to it. So we worked together on putting a song together for that, and Bill is going to do the video, and we'll have that out on YouTube.
Well, yeah, let's acknowledge Bill. He's sitting right next to me again.
Bill does all the videos for the Phog Masheeen shows.
Welcome to the Kill Radio studio. Thanks for coming by.
And he has projected in many different settings, from punk rock boutiques to on shrubbery in the desert.
That's right.
Onto rock walls, all kinds of things, in art museums. But I think the easiest way for people to appreciate the work that he puts into his videos is through the DVDs we make, and we sell them at shows. And we have a new one called Tinnitus to Go. And that is a short grouping of shows that we did earlier this last year. And I think it's some of his best work. What do you think?
Let's give him the mic for a second. And Soundwalk too.
Oh, it has sound.
Okay, you don't have to go up to the mic if you don't want to. But it's Soundwalk.
We love Soundwalk.
Speaking of Soundwalk, Huell Hauser passed away today, and we were featured on that. I think you jammed with us that day.
Yeah.
In 2008, and you usually perform at the Soundwalk every year.
We love the Soundwalk.
Isn't it great?
It is. Gosh.
Long Beach
and to
Soundwalk.
think it's still free. Hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Very entertaining. Yeah. Francine, my wife, was interviewed by Huell Hauser because she had household percussion.
Right.
And she put them all of her pots and pans out on the corner, and Huell stopped by and observed that we were thrashing pots and pans, and then moved on to
he was fascinated by it, like he usually is by anything.
What do we got going on here?
What a cool show that was.
A sad day when Huell Hauser passed. He will be
Yeah.
greatly missed.
Yeah. Now I seem to remember Igor Amakian, who was in here 3 weeks ago with his band, Skyline Electric. He posts a lot of videos. He goes to shows all the time. He posts his little 30-second videos or whatever. And I remember there was a video of the sheriff's Long Beach Police Department rolling up on the pots and pan jam that was going on.
Right.
Remember that one?
Yeah, that they pointed out that there were complaints.
Noise complaints.
But, oddly enough, that was, Igor is on the Eternal Battle of Heat and Cold as well. He he contributed to track 3, I think, and brilliantly, I might add.
But speaking of contributing, excuse me. Also, you contributed to the my band Daylight Bats recent album.
Honor.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It came out really good, and we had William Harrington on that same track too. I thought that came out really good.
Bill is an awesome player.
And we had that great show that we did down at Fingerprints.
Fingerprints was good. That was good fun.
Appreciate that. What were we going to say?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but heat and cold, that's elements it's in all of us, and I could see if you combine our forces what we could do with it. That's kind of a point, really.
It's
almost a contrast, but
I think you'll enjoy it. It's a narrative,
That's what it sounds like, really.
It tells a story, and these people are doomed to work together forever, as you will see from the trailer.
So, what shows do you have coming up?
We're going to be playing in Salem, Massachusetts.
Whoa! What? Salem, Massachusetts?
Yes, the home of the witch trials.
Wow.
That's a festival coming up in March, kind of mid-March. Yeah, and we're also doing another show in Cambridge at a fabulous record store that's about the... I'm not going to say it's the size of a walk-in closet in an insulting way. I'm just going to say it's the size of a walk-in closet because it is. And it's just really small, but it's got really good stuff.
Oh, that should be great. So is Bill going with you?
Yep.
So you're going to project out there with multiple DVD players and mixing, or...
I might just make one and take it.
Yeah.
For limited
Different ways to do it. Yeah, kind of
we've
like
got
dragging up the 50 stairs. Yeah.
Well, this all has to fit into carry-ons.
Yeah, that's a challenge for musicians to bring their stuff on the airlines. Yeah.
Yeah, the digestaphone is a great thing because it's folded up and it's relatively small.
Ah, I see.
And
so you could carry that on.
Well, more than likely it'll be checked.
It'll be checked? Okay.
And the first time they really started checking things, we were flying to Philly for Electro Music 2008, or was it 06, something like that. I think it was. Well, we were flying to Philly, and the equipment rack came down the trolley, and it was a vertical kind of a slide sort of affair, and it came down in pieces. So it's like they had taken the covers off, and they had put it all in these gray buckets, and they just kind of threw it all. They couldn't put it back together or didn't want to bother, and it was kind of annoying, but everything's still functioned. But that was a learning experience. And so from then, just the attribute of physically getting this stuff to where what you have to take to go and do what you do is a big thing, and that's why a lot of people go to things like laptops and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And as much as appealing and light as they are, I have tried working with laptops, and I really do not have a good communication with laptops. They're just a little too precious.
Right. I hear you. So,
Wonder Valley, too.
Oh, and we have Wonder Valley Experimental in April 13th, out in the Great Desert.
Where exactly is Wonder Valley?
Wonder Valley is beyond 29 Palms. On the Amboy Road, you will find a wonderful bar called the Palms, and the Wonder Valley Experimental Festival is going to be Saturday, I believe, the 13th, and probably going to start around 3 in the afternoon. Once again, it's free, and it's fun. And if you decide that you're having too much fun and you don't want to drive, you can camp on site. So that's kind of nice. You just throw down in the dirt and park yourself.
Cool. And it's you'll probably do the next Dung Mummy Jawbone or whatever Jawbone festival or whatever we do. It should be great.
Wherever.
Whatever.
If I can, I will, because those are so fun, and it's just so illuminating to see what people are doing, and it's such a wonderful lineup. I have not been disappointed ever in what I've seen with the Dung Mummies.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. What's the reception like in Massachusetts? It kind of sounds like an odd setting to me. I mean, it's just coming from me.
Our reception the last time in Massachusetts was very good. We did 2 performances and a talk, and the performances were like many noise performances, attended by other noise artists. So there were people that had a different approach to doing the same sort of thing, and that was very interesting. And there are some very talented people out there doing that. Steve Davis from Dog originally came from the Boston area.
Right.
And we played at a great gallery in Lowell, Massachusetts. 119 Gallery, Bill? Yeah. And it was, we played with this great guy who fabricated a didgeridoo that he called the New, and it was Eric Nugent, and he made this out of PVC, and his day job is making high-end flutes. So he is used to fabricating really interesting things for the likes of Galway and Ian Anderson and stuff like that. So they're it's like out of like for real players. But he made this didgeridoo that he could key, and so he could do surf music using the keys to articulate the notes quickly, which is
Yeah.
always kind of the problem with didgeridoos. And he could use all the didgeridoo circular breathing techniques. He's a very talented guy. His website is a riot. He got together with some people, I guess in the 90s, and they disassembled a car and they used it for recordings. And then there are videos of all that stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, so I'm gonna try to hook up with him and do some recording if possible. If not, we'll just we have an extra day in there, so try to do that or do some press or do something. I got the day, so.
Now, getting back to the Dung Mummy, I'd really like to have a recording of that when you do the next Dung Mummy out in the desert. I'd really like to have a recording so we could air it.
Well,
I
let's
kind
make
of
that
miss
happen.
those days.
Let's make that happen. I think there's a recording of your set out there from the last one we did in the desert at Apple Valley. I think there is a recording of you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I've been taking these recordings and dicing them up, and I think the quest is going to be to take the recordings and take the live sets and remake them into studio sets, or make sample sets with them and use them for different things, because we have so much of this material and it's ours, and we don't have to fight in court about who owns it. So it's like
You don't have to worry about getting sued.
Well,
yeah.
Or having YouTube detect that you have a portion of something owned by Warner Music Publishing or whatever.
Not likely.
Steve has had that happen.
Oh, really?
yeah, we did actually. It's kind of there's an irony connected to it. I did something on freedom of speech, and I used Arnold Guthrie, Allison Restaurant, and we got glitched by Warner Brothers.
We posted to YouTube and said we detect that it has this certain song, and it knew somehow it could like read the waveform.
Wow.
And have just a scan of your waveform.
Oh,
and
really?
it
And it
tell.
showed you the waveform like you'd recognize
Yeah, and it was just like, this is this certain specific song owned by so-and-so, and it was like, oh my God, how did they know that? A computer read it and just did it.
That's
And it was
how
just
I felt. It was
scary.
like just fucking maddening, but I was kind of amazed at the same time. How do you track us here on Beverly Boulevard from somewhere up in Warner Brothers executive land?
It doesn't make sense, but I think what it comes down to is the corporation. YouTube was battling the corporation of Warner, and so we were like the battleground for that. We were, we stepped on a mine. But I think it would be interesting to test that, like to sample something and like chop it and see like to what extent can it detect, like what small portion.
Well, I'm sure they're looking for that 7-second threshold or something like that. Isn't that? I thought
Is
that
that
was
what it is?
I thought that was like the deal. I mean, you can have like a snare drum or something, but you can't have more than 7 seconds. I could be wrong, because they're
Who
suing
knows?
they're suing over like little recognizable synth bits from I don't know, Parliament songs and stuff. So it's like, wow, if it's a hook and it came from somewhere else and they can recognize it and find it, no matter how it's buried in the mix, it's like you're in trouble.
Well, because the Beastie Boys had done like an album that was really popular that had tons of samples, and then it was like sort of that was the cutoff point. It was like after that one came out, early '90s, I think it was. Everybody started getting sued.
Well, yeah,
You know.
people were, these guys hadn't seen a good royalty check since the 70s.
Yeah,
They
right.
they were bummed.
Right.
And it's like, who are these guys from Brooklyn doing this and
Stealing
using my licks? Yeah, well,
It's really weird. Yeah,
it is really weird, but I think there's a point. There's a very interesting set of videos that's on the internet now called "Everything's a Remix," and it's about intellectual property, and it sets it up in 4 different stages, and it talks about why things should go to the public domain, and why you should allow other people to build other things out of these other things, and it shouldn't be owned forever. And the people that really started the problem, of course, were Disney with the mouse, because it was 75 years, the mouse was going to go public domain, and they didn't want it.
I see.
And so they lobbied, and they got the law changed.
Okay.
And that is, from there, all things kind of derailed.
Right.
So, it was a situation where people had this period of time for their lifetime, and maybe their heirs, that they would get paid for this stuff, and then it would go to the public domain, and people could use it. Happy birthday,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not that way anymore.
The Raven, or Edgar Allan Poe stories or something. Yeah.
Well,
it should eventually be.
At some point, it's like, because if it's not going to be that way, everything is going to be owned by a corporate entity.
Right.
It's like every intellectual idea will be owned, and it's not going to be owned by the people that came up with the idea. It's going to be owned by these third parties that buy it secondhand, and it's just kind of a strange time. So at least with all these wonderful recordings of these live shows, it's like, okay, we've done this. This is ours. Let's see what else we can do with it.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, you definitely have a knack for the art of sampling.
Well, thank you.
I've noticed, and I think that you have kind of like the harsh noise thing a little bit, and the quieter, generated by interesting things, noise, but then you also have the beat aspect to your music.
I would like to
rhythmic.
I would like to explore that a little bit more fully. I had it was a wonderful audience with the gentleman that was here before, and watching how he handled the machine was illuminating, because it's the same tool I use.
Yeah.
And it was, I just loaded up with all of the stuff that I record, and it's, picophones and other weird instruments, or collages of weird instruments and that sort of thing. But he really had a really nice rhythm sense, and he was willing to cut things out and wait, for a beat and then drop it back in. And,
right.
He
was really using that D beam function, the hand beam.
Yeah, and
interaction.
He was on his game. Very impressed. Yep. And as long as you can see that stuff and bring some small attribute of that to whatever you do without being sued, so much the better.
You shouldn't have to worry about that. It's like evolution, isn't it? It's like common denominators. You find something that you have in common with another artist.
Well, but Steve, just imagine if the blues guys got the notion that they owned this or that lick,
Right.
And it's like, I bend from E flat to E, and that's mine. And anytime I hear somebody bend from E flat to E, I'm going to sue them. It could be B.B. King. He has a lot of money. I'd imagine that he has the means, or has a record company that would say, yes,
love.
B.B. bends from an E flat to an E, and he owns it. He did it first, which clearly is a flawed notion.
Right.
But it probably can be proved in a court of law adequately to get a jury to agree with you, which is just a frightening thing. Yeah, it's just, on so many levels, the litigious life that we lead now is just sort of bizarre.
Along those lines, George Harrison went through something like that with My Sweet Lord. He got sued because it was a similarity with He's So Fine from the Shirelles, and he went to court for that one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about the same thing.
I remember that one. Well, I think around the same time, the even more ridiculous one was what's his name? John Fogerty getting sued for ripping himself off. Remember that one?
Oh, that's right, because
Creedence.
that guy owned Creedence,
Right.
and he was suing him.
They're like, well, your new stuff that you're doing is too similar to the stuff that we own the rights to, that you wrote, but we own the rights because you signed it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was just...
He made some unfortunate legal decisions early in his career that precipitated that.
Yeah. Very
Wonder how
bizarre.
that went.
But that's the thing, is like we're in such like an underground genre or whatever that kind of stuff doesn't really apply very much.
I hope not.
I mean, I see people doing similar stuff here and there. Maybe there's a little bit of influence, but I don't really see a lot of copycat kind of stuff.
Well,
you know,
I'm glad I didn't roll out my cover of Freebird or something like that.
I mean, I've never seen anybody go out there with a
motorcycle exhaust pipe?
Yeah, like because they saw you do it and like, oh, I want to try to copy that. I never have seen that. That would be weird.
Well, you know, the end is near.
Yeah. What if that
The
becomes the
Mayans didn't get
hipster
us.
like thing? That would be like really weird.
That
Now,
would
how would
be-
you feel about that if that did become the hipster like trend of the next 6 months?
I'd be just incredibly honored.
You'd be honored. You'd be honored. You
What
would
if
think
somebody
that's cool.
said,
You wouldn't be
Hey,
crushed
this,
and just
this character over here has been doing this for 10 years or whatever. But I just think it's such a bizarre... Yeah, well, you know, most people would not be caught blowing through a motorcycle exhaust pipe for fear of hydrocarbons coming the other direction. But, you know, I don't have that problem because I figure all the air is going one way
yeah.
and it's not in. So, it's
Well,
okay.
another thing I've seen you do with those things is the blowtorch and dry ice thing.
Yeah, I was
What's
thinking
that all
that.
about?
I was thinking about that. Well, that precipitated heat and cold
Uh-huh.
because I was trying to come up with an idea that would in some way characterize what that was. And the character cold... The three characters in the Eternal Battle of Heat and Cold have signature sounds. And Elisa Black's sound for cold is the sound of dry ice on metal. And the sound for heat, Bobby Allman, is a espresso steamer.
That's a
And
cool sound.
Entropy gets a wonderful instrument that Eric Strauss devised called the Shambler. And the Shambler is a really interesting, hard to control, but fascinating tool. And it's powered by a shop vac that moves a lot of air, and it causes a bass drum head to vibrate in ways that it was never intended to operate. And that, of course, that's what we're looking for.
I've seen you guys. I've seen him perform with Phog Masheeen, and I've seen him perform in his other project. What was the name?
Grizzly.
Grizzly, right? At the Santa Ana Noise Fest, and that's an incredible experience.
It's just...
I mean, it's this huge rumble, low frequency noise thing.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to see it to believe it.
It's featured on the Eternal Battle of Heat and Cold on Entropy Flattens a Mountain Range. And,
I look forward to that. Well, at the end of the show, we'll play a track
oh, good.
from the
that's
CD.
that's the one to play.
Because people need to hear that one.
What would it take to have a blowtorch performance in the studio? I mean,
You know,
if someone would go through the ceiling on that, excuse the joke, but
you know, Steve, it's interesting because that issue has come up a couple times about the blowtorch, and we worked around it the first time we went to Boston by using a hot plate to heat up the metal.
Hmm.
And that didn't work so well because it burned through the cord to the contact mic. That was
Oh shit!
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, that was kind of awkward. But the other time we did that was at the Palm Springs Art Museum, where they were not going to have any part of blowtorches, and
Right.
so we used infrared heat lamp that you might use to keep food warm in a fast food restaurant, and that
Oh,
worked,
right.
that
Really?
worked pretty well. That worked pretty well. It got the job done. It was socially acceptable, but the blowtorch is where my heart lies.
No, I don't have any way of words to describe it, but it was such a cool sound when you had that exhaust pipe and you put on the gloves, and it was cool to watch. And then you pulled out the blowtorch, heated the damn thing up, and then applied the dry ice to it,
It's
and it was just it sounded like there were souls screaming to get out of that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it releases. What happens, the technical thing that happens is when you have the hot metal and the really cold dry ice, is the dry ice boils when it hits the metal. And when it boils, the sound you hear is that vibration. And by pressing harder, it just makes it scream more. And if you find a good hot spot and just like lean into it, oh my.
And this is without you like blowing into it.
No.
This is
I'm
just
not-
the metal reacting.
That's the metal. Yeah, and the contact mic is the right tool for the job.
So it's more than a visual thing. That's what I get. I mean, along with the instrumental, it just sounds like a visual thing.
Well, yeah.
Well, it becomes performance art. You know, I mean, it
I probably could get away with using white gas easier than the blowtorch. You know, just because people swallow, flame swallower.
Oh, I
People
see.
That's that Coleman fuel stuff.
well, I could see you, in a circus sideshow act.
Without a doubt.
I mean, you guys have a clown on the cover of the album. So,
Oh,
what's that?
That's our tip of the hat to Entropy, who is the clown-like character that mocks both heat and cold. And that clown, Bill rendered from a photograph of a folk art piece that I have that was painted on a skill saw blade, a rotary saw blade, and
That you found somewhere, or what?
swap meet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Bizarre.
I had it up at work.
Totally unknown artist.
Yeah, I had it up at work just because some days I really felt like it was a sideshow, and if you just approached everybody I was working with at the time as a sideshow performer, it just made it easier.
So life in a way is a circus sideshow for you.
Not anymore. No, it's much better now.
Well, that sounds like more than the main attraction in the sideshow. I mean, something you could appreciate. Really.
But I've seen some great sideshows, Steve. There was
Okay.
They had this one sideshow, and I think it was in Washington. I think I was on my way to a music festival in Washington somewhere, and they had this little festivity, and they had the rides, and they had a few little things, and they had this one really great circus sideshow event called the Wild Woman. And the Wild Woman appeared to be somebody that might be, I don't know, maybe a cashier at a bank or something like that, that was wearing a leopard print sort of dress kind of affair,
Oh, wow.
with nothing showing, and every now and then she'd kind of roll around on the ground and go rah. Like that was it was just like, wow, that's what it takes to be a wow. I thought it was kind of great, actually, and I love carnival barkers, and I've occasionally used some of the carnival barker kind of phraseology for certain little ad bits that has come up from time to time. But
Well, I think of Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
well, that's pretty highbrow
That
compared
film.
to the
Well, but because I know Bill had used some footage from I don't know what the film is, but it's a Lon Chaney film.
Oh, about the slapping in the clowns.
yeah.
What's that clown?
He Who Slaps.
He Who Slapped. Yeah, I have not seen that, but
Eric Strauss
It
turned
must
us
be
onto
amazing.
that. It is way amazing. It's
Gotta see that.
definitely worth seeing, and it's out on YouTube,
Yeah,
right?
those parts were from YouTube.
yeah, I'll look for that one.
Oh yeah, it's illuminating. I mean, a lot of the silent films were really great. I mean, the acting, it was big. It was big acting because they didn't say anything, but I liked them.
Well, it's kind of like if you go see like some really really loud harsh noise. I mean, that's like a different style of expression than more acceptable
Yeah, well,
art forms, I guess. You know, I mean, it's kind of like that type of acting. Sometimes I think of it that way.
yeah.
Very a little more over the top and.
Well, it captures a lot of aggression.
Mhm.
I mean, it's. I mean, clearly, some of the performers are channeling just waves of aggression, and it's
Yeah.
and the first time we saw Bobby Allman perform with Dog, he was pulling his t-shirt, ripping his t-shirt off, and wading into the audience, and I honestly believed I was going to be throwing blows in a minute, because he was like, I was just, he was not to be trifled with, and he's a pretty impressive character anyway, and then to have him wading into the audience,
Jeez.
it was heavy, and people
Yeah.
at that show made all kinds of statements, and then afterwards we said, "Oh, that was awesome, Manny. Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you." You know,
Not
really,
what you'd expect.
really kind and generous performer.
Well, I thought of that too when I at the Santa Ana Noise Fest, and Demetrium Gunplow, who played on this show before, he had like a real visceral performance there when he smashed the record and kind of stripped down to his underwear and just let out that just like primal scream.
Yeah, that's on the internet. If you want to download that, that's on the archive. Yeah,
You archived that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Archive.org, yeah.
That was a brilliant performance, and Francine really hates the name of his band, and so she has problems with that.
Well, Steve asked him about the band name. Remember?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Endometrium Gunplow.
Yes,
Remember you asked him-
exactly. I had questions on that one, but it's yeah.
What did he say?
For me, it shows the strength of a woman. You get the image of a woman behind a plow with her flexing her muscle.
go, yeah.
It was kind of feminist, and I appreciated that one.
Well, that's
We can do it.
That's
We
not
can
what
do it.
My wife hears.
That's not what most people hear. Yeah,
Well,
it's
Come to think of it, I
just
went,
a real destructive, just invasive thought. You know, it's very, very violent and very just horrifying.
But what you were describing is like, I would say, just artistry, performance art. The guy stripping
Yeah.
down, it's pre-planned artistry, and of course
Yeah.
the guy's very humble and modest. He's not trying to be aggressive.
No, he's a really charming individual.
Yes.
Very nice guy.
Yes, he is.
It's just not understood.
I think you're right. I think I don't know. I think it's just the name that gets people's attention.
It definitely does.
And I don't think more needs to be said. Some people like it. Some people.
So speaking of
really-
band names, let's talk about your band name.
Oh,
What's
Phog
the
Masheeen?
origin of that?
Phog Masheeen was a handle that we used in a project called Scow. And Scow was Phog Masheeen, Backflow, Baby Bok Choy, and I'm trying to remember the guitar player's handle. But at any rate, we did hip hop. And
Cool.
we the high water mark of Scow was we got interviewed by an Italian hip hop magazine or an online kind of blog sort of thing about our hip hop lifestyle, which was very interesting to me because
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a hip hop lifestyle. I don't know. I don't believe that I make any effort at all to lead a hip hop lifestyle. But they were asking me about that, and that was kind of interesting. They got a hold of a track that we did called "Moving On Up to the LBC," about a child, a young person from South Orange County that wants to live the ghetto lifestyle and moves to Long Beach, and things don't go the way they expected, because it's everybody that can leaves, everybody that can't stays,
Yeah.
and
Jeez.
they don't warmly receive this chap. And
Oh my God.
yeah,
Sounds
but
like a great.
it is a great. I like
setup for-
I like the song. It's basically the short version is he moves to Long Beach. Everything's stolen out of his car in the first hours he's there. He only has his mouse left after his computer is taken, and he has no bed. He has nothing but bills, and it's just it's a marvelous telling of people's perception of what it is to live the hip hop lifestyle, and I guess that's why they asked me about it. I don't know. At any rate, that was a project that did primarily hip hop, and we had a guitarist that could dish up some metal licks, and so we put those in from time to time. But a lot of samples of the stuff that you associate with hip hop stuff. A lot of samples of scratching and women background singers and that sort of thing, and rapping. And so I would do raps, and I would pitch my voice down. I had a whole program of how I would take my normally nasal voice and put it in a place where it could sound legitimate. And it involved pitch shifting and a little bit of bit crushing. But by the end of it, a lot of it is, since it is a very percussive vocal style, you have to be on time, you have to be ahead of the beat.
Yep.
And a lot of that stuff is easy to manipulate in digital audio workstations.
Yep.
So if you can deliver the line well, you can move it around, you can kind of pitch shift it, you can do a few different things, and then suddenly this sort of middle-aged white guy is delivering somewhat credible hip-hop, and it's through the mystery of electronics. But
So
hip-hop has gone through so many incarnations by this point. It's hardly recognizable from what Ice-T was doing, or
Yeah.
it's a very different beast.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's cycles of what that it'll go back a couple decades to sample those beats, and then that'll go out of style, and then
Yeah.
new. They'll find new. I remember for a minute they were I heard some stuff that was really cool. They were sampling sitars and stuff like that. That was like about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah,
You know.
somebody gets a good idea, and it gets, absorbed.
Yeah.
and then time marches on. I mean, stuff is only new for that day, something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
and the idea of having a hip hop career is just such a funny thing. It's like, well, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to be a Lindsay Lohan and start your criminal escapades to keep on the front page.
Yeah.
It's
Silly.
It's not possible.
But along those lines, some of the guys in hip hop, I mean, they've been there.
Yes.
I mean, they've been through the whole, I
Definitely.
guess, drugs in prison and everything.
No doubt.
Well, and that's true. And through either careful orchestration of ongoing bad judgment or something, it's like, for instance, the time that Snoop Dogg was caught carrying some sort of weapon onto a plane that he claimed was a prop from a movie. It's like, come on. You're Snoop Dogg. Of course they're going to search everything. Of course they will. That's what they're paid to do. And if you have it, they're going to find it. What were you thinking? Somebody must have, it's either carefully orchestrated or just another unfortunate misstep. But whatever. He's got the money to work it out.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Many lives have been saved through people discovering that they are poets. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like a really cool thing.
Well,
It's a cool thing.
There's a lot of people saved through that. It's their saving grace. Nothing funny about it. I mean, I've heard the stories, and I could see why.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that poetry allows you an opportunity to find a voice, B, a way to express the things that you really feel need to be expressed, and a platform to use. And if you choose to do it through rap or whatever, however you want to experience your poetry is fine. I think that there are many people doing spoken word of all varieties. There's all kinds of publications going on. If anything, publishing seems to be in some sort of renaissance. The small presses, things are happening. People are putting tons of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with any of Lob's projects from Sacramento? Lob.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one that came out on Love Earth that was, what was it, the City, Dark City or something like that. What was it called?
He does all kinds of
It was
spoken word stuff.
incredible, yeah.
Yeah, he's quite an engine of innovation in the Sacramento area. I have a lot of respect for Lob.
So he puts together the NorCal Noise Fest every year.
Yes, he does. And he's currently putting together sort of a tribute album to his band Instagon.
Mm-hmm.
And he put out the call that he wanted people to submit tracks of songs that Instagon does. So I did one for Jazz for Satan, and turned that in. So that'll probably turn up somewhere on a CD.
Cool. And he did the one that was like 20-second tracks or something.
Oh, 23 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been involved in a bunch of those. The new one is he wants field recordings. I thought that was kind of cool. He's looking for people to go out their front door and just start recording, which I find just fascinating. Because it's been through he wanted a spoken word, 23 seconds of sound or whatever, and then he wanted a few different things. And, 23 seconds is not a long time.
No.
I can get behind the computer and give him 23 seconds pretty quick. So I always try to come up with something.
Yeah.
Well, some on that one, if it's concrete, it's an art. If you could say something in 23 seconds and it's got a concrete message, that's the other hand of it.
Well, there's that. Yes. And if you can make a concrete statement, or if you can just make a 23-second contribution to a patchwork of 23-second contributions, and it all hooks together because the person that's building the project organizes it, or masters it, or just sorts through which ones work best together.
Mm-hmm.
It's like curating an art show.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like what goes on the wall where has a lot to do with how well the whole thing is going to go down. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities for art there.
I think so.
If you don't mind, I'd like to play that one track, Entropy Flattens a Mountain Range.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'd be thrilled.
Kind of looking forward to hearing that one. It's like 7.5 minutes, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like to play that.
Yeah, please.
So let's go ahead and do that. So thanks for being on the show, Mark.
Oh, thank you for
It
having me.
was a great performance.
And it's a great honor to be here at Kill Radio.
I mean, we've been doing the show for almost a year.
Almost now.
It's unbelievable.
I think
the
it's
talent
wonderful.
we've had in here.
Well, I think it's great. There's a lot of local people that work really hard doing a variety of things, and I'm really glad that you're archiving things as meticulously as you do, and I appreciate that because it allows these things to have a life beyond just tonight or tomorrow or whatever it is today.
See,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. I mean, we're giving you more than just an hour. We're giving you like a chance to express yourself in the archive, and you could take it where you want to take it to.
Yeah, it's great.
We're not going to say anything. Thank you for coming in. I mean, it's like Jeremy said, for me it's likewise. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have you coming back for sure.
Definitely. Please come back.
I'd be thrilled. That would. Yeah, absolutely. I'll have stories about Boston.
Good luck with that.
Probably stories about the Palms and all that other stuff too.
Yeah. It's going to be a good year.
It should be.
13's going to be a lucky year. Joe?
Because it's... I get it.
Really?
Love it. Thank you again.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
It's a big night sky to ponder, with all those points of light. It fills both eyes, far and wide, on a moonless night. Camel drivers smoke their weight in hash on the Silk Road traverse. They found patterns in the night sky to support sedated verse. That brings us to the elephant. Present but not seen. You can't have the content without the space between. I am the spaces in a barcode. The rest in the music, the area the void does fill. The space after the comma, waiting for the drama that bad timing kills. What's not there is as important as what decorates a room. So by design, I take my time to find a space to fill. You can't make a language of hearing what's not said, unless you deduce some meaning from the lines that were not read. Can one really be a designer by taking things away? Or find the tune within us by notes we do not play? Or landscape by just using the plants already in the dirt? That doesn't fit a business plan. We'd likely lose our shirt. For a property or concept, such as heat and cold, to be noticed as an item, to be branded, bought, and sold, we would need consumers with an attention span of at least 1 million years. Not beings that lose their train of thought in the time it takes to drink a beer. When it would take 1,000 of their lifespans to begin to see our work, why should we want to work so hard to entertain these jerks? Who cares that they don't get it? So we don't get a temple as our pay. Whether or not they praise us, we are with them every day. We give them things to fight against, to try and overcome. They even buy swamp coolers. Tell me that's not dumb. So it's heat and cold forever. Go carve it in a tree. When you want someone who knows your work, there's entropy and me.